firsthand what it takes to run a company, to meet a payroll and to meet a budget, and to create jobs. This is not theory, but rather this is common sense, proven, practical approach, which will guide my philosophies in this Congress. This is a great American priority, and we must get it right. Next, we must tackle federal spending and get it under control to get our fiscal house in order. There can be no greater example as to the urgency of this matter than what happened in my home state of Illinois this last week. During the final hours of the state's legislative session last Wednesday, Illinois state lawmakers passed a massive state income tax increase to make up for the state's rampant, unchecked spending, with a 66% increase in personal income tax rate, and corporate income tax rates also rising dramatically. Families and businesses in Illinois are being punished because the politicians cannot control themselves and the spending. This acts as a huge additional burden with no meaningful commitment to cut spending. This is devastating for job creation in a state that so desperately needs it. We need to encourage job creation, and this will only increase the trend of employers not hiring, laying off, and potentially even leaving the state. I will work hard to make sure that the 10th District, American families, and businesses are not put in a similar position, crippling themselves here at the federal level. And that work begins immediately. Tomorrow afternoon, this House will vote on health care reform, an area where I think last year we missed a golden opportunity. Last year's health care overhaul addressed access to insurance, but it failed to address cost or quality of health care. Earlier today, I held an event in my district in Vernon Hills to highlight yet one small, very small section in this legislation, one that will have a devastating impact on businesses. The new 1099 rules. This provision will unfairly burden small businesses with mounds of paperwork and compliance fees, and will certainly hinder the economy at the worst possible time. Fortunately, I believe that most in this body see the wisdom in correcting this terrible legislative mistake. I am proud to be a co-sponsor of this bill to repeal these unworkable and unnecessary and unproductive 1099 rules. I look forward to working with both Republicans and Democrats to keep this legislation simple and to pass it as soon as possible. Now, when we look at health care, there are certainly some good aspects of this law. The coverage of pre-existing conditions, for one that should be strongly considered. Going forward, there's also keeping children on your insurance till they're 26. But there's a lot, plenty, that needs to be corrected. And we need to put a better system in place. I firmly believe that affordable and accessible health care is a vital issue, and we need to make sure that it is available to all Americans. But we need to be talking about meaningful malpractice reform, interstate competition, consumer-driven care, and tax breaks for individuals to purchase insurance on their own, just like businesses have today. The American people deserved better. They deserve health care reform that passes the House with broad bipartisan support. One of the reasons for the major flaws in this health care law is that broad bipartisan cooperation did not happen. Rather, the law grew out of a closed legislative process where some of the best ideas to lower costs and to raise quality were ignored. We cannot afford another missed opportunity. As such, I invite all members of this Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to reach across party lines so that we can produce the best bill with the best ideas for the American public. In that spirit is my intent to introduce a practical and centrist alternative to the current health care law. This plan will reduce health care costs and expand insurance coverage without raising taxes, and will guarantee that the government does not come between a decision you make with your doctor. It will address malpractice reform and allow any individual who finds a plan that better suits them anywhere in our nation to be able to purchase it. It is critical that we move forward in this area of health care reform so that we can have the best system possible, one that works for all Americans. This is a sentiment that I have consistently heard in communities all across the 10th District. Another concern I hear all over our district, and a major priority of mine, is to keep our nation safe and free. The 10th District is fortunate to have a tradition of congressional leadership on national defense and foreign affairs, and I look forward to stepping forward in this area. I will always be focused on keeping our nation strong and free, and it will be an honor to work to support the incredible men and women who wear our nation's uniform in service. On a more local level, I will be an advocate for our veterans as they return home and become acquainted with the beautiful Captain James A. Lovell Federal Health Center in North Chicago. This is the first fully integrated federal health care center between the VA and the Department of Defense, and we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to Senators Kirk and Durbin, along with many others, for bringing it to our community. This facility shows our commitment to those who serve, but it also shows and serves as a reminder of the sacrifice required to protect American freedoms. Currently, I believe Iran's pursuit of a nuclear weapon to be the biggest threat to our national security and to our democratic allies abroad. The sanctions that Congress passed last year are clearly having an impact on the Iranian regime, but I believe that we cannot rest until the Iranian nuclear threat is affirmatively and effectively dismantled. I pledge to aggressively monitor developments in this area and search for ways which I can help in Congress, because a nuclear-armed Iran is simply unacceptable. In my mind, one of the best ways to combat this Iranian threat is a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. I traveled to Israel this past year in order to see firsthand the security challenges the United States and Israel currently face together in the Middle East. As such, I fully understand why a strong U.S.-Israel relationship is critical for the United States, and I look forward to using my voice here in Congress to continue to advocate for its strengthening. Finally, I'd like to turn to two areas that are particularly important to me and to the people of my district: education and the environment. I believe that education is the building block for a prosperous America of tomorrow. We must encourage schools to prepare our students for success in the jobs our modern economy demands. And I'm confident in the ability of our local school districts to prepare our students appropriately. I do believe a one-size-fits-all model stymies innovation and in education. Accordingly, we must give more authority and control to local school districts. However, we must not allow unfunded federal mandates and programs to get in the way of our local school districts providing high-quality education. As a scout, a Boy Scout, and now a Scoutmaster, I was taught by my Scoutmasters, Lee Getcho, Charlie Barnes, and Artie Bergman, to love the out-of-doors and nature. In northeastern Illinois, we are fortunate to be stewards of one of the greatest natural resources in the world, Lake Michigan. With 26 miles of Lake Michigan shoreline, the 10th Congressional District enjoys tremendous benefits from its precious resource. We have an important obligation to preserve and protect this great natural resource that is vital to the 10th District and to the entire United States. From drinking water to recreational opportunities, I will work diligently to protect the lake to improve her water quality. I will also work with local, state, and federal parties to clean up Waukegan Harbor and delist this wonderful resource as an area of environmental concern once and for all. Focusing on jobs in the economy, reining in federal spending and keeping our nation safe and free, and working to strengthen our nation's health care system, our education system, and our environment. These major legislative goals for the 112th Congress. And in the tradition of those who have served the people of Chicago's north and northwest suburbs before me, I look to be a voice of pragmatic, centrist ideas, someone who listens to all people on both sides of the aisle, and looks for ways that we can work together to best serve the American people. As a fiscal conservative and a social moderate, I'm a firm believer in smaller government. This will guide my service in this House. I have some very large shoes to fill, but it is my promise that I will represent this office with dignity, distinction, honor, and above all, integrity. I thank the people of the 10th District of Illinois for the opportunity to serve them, I will never forget why I am here or who I am here to represent. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.